All right, 9:26 here, Big 550 KTRS. Tomorrow, Tom Schweik is laid to rest. The funeral is tomorrow at 10 o'clock. From what I understand, there's going to be a pool report, and KTRS will do everything in our power to take that funeral. He's a sitting auditor, and he was a candidate for governor, and it has become a national story. Tony Messenger was on. He was on our show on Friday. He was on Rachel Maddow. I think he was on Meet the Press, too, over the weekend as well. This is getting some national attention. I do want to open up the phone lines, 314-969-KTRS, 1-888-550-KTRS, or star KTRS. No joking aside, but I do this. I say this kind of tongue-in-cheek, and I mean to lighten it up a little bit, but I also purposely mean to sort of show you that we were supposed to talk with Kelsey from The Bachelor, but I canceled that interview because I wanted to talk about Tom Schweik. And I want to talk about Tom Schweik in a number of different ways. And again, I feel it important to say this every time I talk about Tom Schweik in any opinion that I give. I don't, even though was it Tina Meyer? What was the daughter's name? Tina Meyer was the mother. Megan Meyer. Remember Megan Meyer, the story? She was bullied by the parent and the teenager, and she went home and she ended up hanging herself. Now, I don't think that the mother is the reason why the daughter hung herself. However, the stress of being bullied at school for a teenager is very difficult. It's very difficult for an adult, but as a teenager, they don't necessarily come equipped with some of the maturity that an adult deals with. And besides, adults don't get bullied. Unless, of course, you want to run for an office somebody else in your party wants. And then, of course, it's free game. You're followed around, with a camera. Every email you've ever written is looked at. Every travel expense you've ever written is looked at. Every time you go to dinner, it's looked at. Your physical nature, your physical stature is made fun of on a statewide campaign and a statewide commercial. That's what it takes to become governor in this state and many other states. And it's not just Republicans. Democrats do it too. How many times do you see a story where a Democrat, if it's beneficial, if it works against somebody, if they're African American, that person's picture shows up in a flyer where the African American picture is there. Let's say it's not beneficial. It would be better if you're not white. Somehow that shows up, right? Your name and then the other person's picture, right? I mean, it's done, and it's a nudge, nudge, wink, wink, and it's called a code. And it reaches for the bottom level of politics, and it reaches into our worst fears and our worst thoughts. And so I don't believe that John Hancock somehow caused Tom Schweik to pull the trigger. I don't believe it. I believe there are two separate incidents. Tom Schweik was a man who was suffering from some mental health issues. And he was in a trough, and he couldn't get out of it. And whatever sent him there, it just happened to be these set of stories and this issue. But it could have been anything. It could have been, how many times do you hear the story of the battered wife who says, why did you beat her? Well, the food wasn't on the table when I came home, so he beat me, right? It wasn't the fact that the food wasn't on the table. She was going to be beaten anyway. That's just an excuse, right? So in that sense, whatever set Tom Schweik off, it wasn't anybody's fault. It's just the tragedy of mental illness. But what it did do is that it exposed dirty little secrets about political campaigns. I just want to play for you the first paragraph of this political spot. David, if you can just play the first, just start that commercial. Here's a commercial that the opposition was running against Tom Schweik.
Elections have consequences. Tom Schweik? Like him? No. Is he a weak candidate for governor? Absolutely, just look at him. He could be easily confused for the deputy sheriff of Mayberry.
All right, stop. Just look at him. He's weak, right? Tell me that isn't just a form of bullying. That is just a flat-out form of bullying. There is no difference than a teenage boy making fun of a teenage girl for having breasts for the first time, right? For having a cleft palate, for stuttering, for having zits, for being too tall, for being too short, for being too fat, for being too thin, right? I mean, you expect our children to not bully when the highest office in the state starts off like that? Tom Schweik can't be governor because he looks like Barney Fife? No wonder people don't run for public office anymore. That's what politics has come to? That's outrageous. That is offensive, and this hidden money and dark money has gotten way out of hand. Right? Now, secondly, I want to talk about John Hancock. John Hancock is a world-class political operative. He is such a world-class political operative that he has a job in Ohio that deals with national campaigns that he flies to and from Ohio with because he's so well respected. You know what he does? He is a master at opposition research. That's what that man does. A world-class political operative did not know, not only is he a world-class political operative, he was also in the running for the last 5 months to become the head of the Republican Party in the state of Missouri. He has admitted that once or twice, maybe in passing, he might have mentioned that Tom Schweik was Jewish. For no other reason than no malice in his heart and no hate in his heart, that's what he did. He just, for no other reason than he just happened to mention it in passing that Tom Schweik was Jewish. Oh, by the way, did I mention that John Hancock also worked for Tom Schweik? Now, if you're a world-class political operative and you worked for this man and you want to be the head of the Republican Party and you don't know that Tom Schweik is not Jewish, you should be fired for incompetency. There's only 2 statewide elected officials that are Republicans in this state. And you're going to tell me, as a world-class political operative who wants to run the state in your party, you don't know the man's not Jewish? Why do you think the man is Jewish, John Hancock? Why? You worked for the man. You're a world-class political operative. You're in charge of opposition research. You know, not only do opposition research, you do on your own candidate to find out what the other guys are going to do. So you want to find out what Chris Koster's going to do if Tom Schweik wins the race. So let's find out all the skeletons, quote-unquote skeletons, so that we know how to defend ourselves when the bad guys come after us. So let's assume, for argument's sake, that John Hancock doesn't have any malice in his heart. The man says it, I take him at his word. It's incompetent that he's going around telling people the man's Jewish. It's so offensive. It's so offensive on so many levels because to insinuate that the man is Jewish, therefore puts Tom Schweik in a situation where saying, first of all, I'm not Jewish. Not that there's anything wrong with me if I were Jewish. So now it's like saying Obama's a Muslim, or you know what, McGraw Millhaven's gay. So there's a whisper campaign. I'm just making this up. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. But if you Google McGraw Millhaven, one of the things that comes up is McGraw Millhaven gay? And so somebody comes up to me and says, are you gay? Well, whether I am or I'm not, why does that matter? 1. And 2, let's say I'm not. I'm not, but let's say I'm not. So how do I, not that there's anything wrong, if I were gay, if I'm not gay, who cares? It doesn't matter. And so in that sense, they're playing to the worst fears. What's the opposite of this? I'll take a break and I'll get to your phone calls. 314-969-KTRS, 1-888-550-KTRS, or star KTRS. If a world-class political operative working for Hillary Clinton admitted to going around a state like Iowa during the primary and said, was quoted as saying, yeah, once in a while I said Senator Obama was a Muslim. I didn't mean anything by it. I thought he was a Muslim. He had a Muslim-sounding name, so I thought he was a Muslim. Right? That is a code word to saying he's unfit. Oh, he's a Muslim. Hey, did you know he's a Muslim? It's factually incorrect. Forget all the religious overtones. A world-class political operative is incorrect. He's passing on information that is false. How many times does a world-class operative pass on false information and still keep his job? It's just wrong. And then to somehow insinuate that Tony Messenger is the one who's being the bad guy by disseminating all this terrible information. Tony Messenger is just reporting what Tom Schweik told him. Tom Schweik was the one who was going to call him out. 314-969-KTRS, 1-888-550-KTRS, or star KTRS. Those are the phone numbers.